Jake's perfect life with Emily unravels when her late nights and cryptic texts spark suspicion. His gut screams betrayal, but the truth could shatter everything. One wrong move, and he loses her forever. One right move, and her secrets come crashing down. Buckle up for a story of trust, lies, and a plan for justice. Jake Thompson, 32, leaned over the stove in their Seattle condo, stirring a pot of marinara sauce, the tangy aroma filling the air. It was Thursday night, his turn to cook, and he planned a surprise dinner for Emily, his wife of 5 years. He grinned, thinking of her reaction. She always loved his pasta nights. A data analyst with a knack for spotting patterns, Jake thrived on these small moments of connection. Emily, 30, a rising star in a downtown marketing firm, was his partner in every sense. Sharp, ambitious, and his biggest cheerleader. Or so he thought. The clock ticked past 7 p.m. Emily was late. Again. Jake checked his phone. No texts, just a missed call from her at 5:30, no voicemail. He shrugged it off, assuming another client dinner ran long. She'd been swamped lately, her firm chasing a big campaign. But as he set the table, a nagging feeling crept in. Her delays were becoming routine. Last week, she'd breezed in at 9 p.m., muttering about a last-minute meeting. The week before, it was a team brainstorm that kept her until 10 o'clock. Each time, her explanations were vague, her tone clipped like she was reading from a script. Jake poured a glass of red wine, trying to shake the unease. He wasn't the jealous type. Years of crunching numbers taught him to trust evidence over emotion. But patterns didn't lie. Emily's phone, once left carelessly on the counter, now stayed glued to her hand. Last night, it buzzed at 2 a.m. She'd silenced it with a quick glance, her fingers trembling slightly as she set it face down. Just spam, she'd said, avoiding his eyes. Jake hadn't pushed, but the moment stuck with him. He plated the pasta, the steam rising in lazy curls. By 7:30, the food was cold, and so was his mood. His phone pinged, a text from Emily. Running late, client drinks. Be home soon. No apology, no details. He stared at the message, his thumb hovering over the reply button. Something fell off, like a data point that didn't fit the curve. He typed, "No worries, see you soon," and hit send, but his mind was already racing. Jake wasn't one to jump to conclusions, but he started connecting dots. 3 weeks ago, Emily had stopped mentioning Ryan, her charismatic boss. Before, his name popped up in her stories. Ryan's bold pitch, Ryan's late-night strategy sessions. Now silence. Jake noticed other shifts. She locked her phone even at home, a new habit. Once, when he playfully grabbed it to check the weather, she snatched it back, laughing too hard to cover her panic. "Work stuff," she'd said, but her voice cracked. He pushed the thought aside and headed to the living room, flipping on a Seahawks game rerun to distract himself. But his analyst brain wouldn't quit. He opened their shared credit card app, scrolling through recent charges. Most were routine, coffee shops, groceries, but one stood out, a $200 charge at the Pink Door, a romantic waterfront restaurant, dated last Tuesday. Emily had claimed she was at a team meeting that night, not a fancy dinner. Jake's stomach twisted. He cross-checked her calendar, which she shared with him. No mention of the Pink Door, just a vague work event from 6 to 8 p.m. She'd come home at 10:30. The front door clicked open at 8:15. Emily walked in, her heels clicking on the hardwood. "Hey, sorry," she said, dropping her bag. "Crazy day." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Jake stood, forcing a grin. "Pasta's cold, but I can heat it up." She waved it off. "Ate with the team. I'm beat." She headed upstairs, her phone clutched tightly. Jake watched her go, his jaw tight. The Seahawks roared on the TV, but he barely heard it. The next day, Jake met his buddy Mike at a Capitol Hill bar. Over beers, he let slip his concerns. Emily's late nights, the locked phone, the restaurant charge. Mike, a no-nonsense contractor, leaned back. "Sounds like you need answers, not guesses. Ever thought about a PI?" Jake laughed it off, but Mike pressed. "I know a guy. Discreet, good at marital stuff. No drama, just facts." He slid a business card across the table. Northwest Investigations, Private Services. Jake pocketed the card, unsure. Confronting Emily risked blowing up their marriage over nothing. But ignoring it felt worse. That night, he lay awake beside her, her breathing steady, her phone on the nightstand, screen dark. He thought of their early days, road trips to Mount Rainier, her teasing him about his terrible karaoke. Where's that Emily? The doubt gnawed deeper, a quiet alarm in his chest. By Monday, Jake made the call. The PI, a gruff ex-cop named Dan, met him at a quiet diner. Jake laid out the facts. Late nights, the restaurant charge, Ryan's name vanishing from her stories. Dan listened, jotting notes. No promises, he said. I'll tail her for a week, check her routines. If there's something, you'll know. Jake handed over a thumb drive with their bank statements and Emily's schedule. I just want the truth, he said. Done no det. Truth's all I deal in. As Jake drove home, the Seattle skyline glowed against the dusk. He felt a mix of dread and resolve. Emily was hiding something. He was sure of it. But what? An affair? A secret project? Or was he just paranoid? The PI would dig, but Jake knew waiting would be brutal. He'd keep up the act, dinners, smiles, normalcy, while watching her every move. If Emily was lying, he'd find out. And if she was, he'd make sure the truth came at a cost. Jake's hired a PI to uncover Emily's secrets. But every clue tightens the knot in his chest. Her late nights and hidden texts point to betrayal. But what if the truth is worse than he imagined? As the net closes, one shocking discovery flips his plan upside down. Stay tuned for a twist that changes everything. Jake Thompson sat in his car outside a Fremont coffee shop, gripping his phone, waiting for Dan, the PI, to call. It had been 5 days since he'd handed over Emily's schedule and bank statements. 5 days of pretending everything was fine at home. Every smile he forced, every casual, "How was work?" he asked Emily, felt like a lie he was telling himself. She'd come home late again last night, claiming a client pitch ran over, her phone buzzing as she slipped into bed. Jake didn't ask questions. He couldn't risk tipping her off. But the waiting was eating him alive. His phone rang at 10:17 a.m. Dan's voice was low, all business. Meet me at the diner. Got something. Jake's pulse spiked. He drove across town, weaving through Seattle's morning traffic, his mind racing. Had Dan caught Emily with someone? Was it Ryan, her slick boss? Or just a misunderstanding? The uncertainty was worse than any answer. At the diner, Dan slid into the booth, a manila folder in hand. No smoking gun, he said, cutting to the chase. Followed her 3 days. She goes to work, stays late, leaves. No hotel stops, no shady meetups in bars. Jake's shoulders sank, but Dan raised a hand. Hold on. There's something. Her routine's too clean. She's at the office past 9 p.m. most nights, but her building's garage logs show her car leaving at 6:30. Someone's covering for her, or she's not leaving the office. Jake frowned. You're saying it's happening at work? Done no det. Likely. Her firm's got private offices, keycard access, no cameras in the exec wing. If she's meeting someone, say, Ryan, it's behind closed doors. Hard to catch without inside access. Jake's mind flashed to Emily's sudden silence about Ryan, how his name vanished from her stories. Dan tapped the folder. Also checked that pink door charge. Reservation was under Ryan's name, table for two. No client listed. The words hit like a punch. Jake stared at the folder, which held parking logs and a receipt copy. No photos, no texts, but the pieces were falling into place. Emily wasn't just working late. She was hiding something, maybe someone in plain sight. What now? Jake asked, his voice tight. Dan leaned back. You want proof? You need to get closer. A bug in her office? Maybe. Or you confront her, see if she cracks. Risky either way. Jake shook his head. No confrontación. Not yet. He needed evidence, not excuses. Driving home, Jake's thoughts churned. An office affair explained everything. Emily's locked phone, her late hours, the way she dodged questions about Ryan. But how could he prove it? Breaking into her office was a non-starter. He wasn't about to risk jail. He needed a smarter play, something to make her slip up without suspecting him. By the time he pulled into their condo's parking lot, an idea was forming. One that made his stomach turn but felt like his only shot. That night, Emily came home at 8:45, her usual client meeting, excuse ready. Jake played along, offering to reheat leftovers. She declined, heading for a shower, her phone never leaving her hand. Jake waited until she was upstairs, then checked their shared calendar again. Another work event was slated for tomorrow, 6 to 8 p.m. He bet anything she'd be home closer to 10 o'clock. The pattern was clear now, and he wasn't letting it slide. The next morning, Jake stopped by an electronics store on his lunch break. He bought a small audio recorder, palm-sized, easy to hide. His plan was risky, but simple. Make Emily think he was hiding something too, lower her guard, and get her talk. He'd read about it online. Confess a fake secret to trigger a real one. It felt manipulative, but so did her lies. He tested the recorder, its red light blinking as it captured his voice. Test, test. Clear as day. He pocketed it, his resolve hardening. At home, Jake kept up the act. He laughed at Emily's small talk, asked about her day, and ignored the buzz of her phone during dinner. But he noticed her glance at it, her fingers twitching like she was itching to check a message. "Everything okay?" he asked, casual. She nodded too quickly. "Just work stuff." He let it go, but his plan was taking shape. He needed a name, someone believable to spark her jealousy. Lisa, his coworker, came to mind. Emily had met her at a company barbecue, made a snide comment about her being too friendly. Perfect. The next evening, Jake suggested drinks at a local brewery, a rare midweek outing. Emily agreed, maybe sensing his effort to reconnect. At the bar, he waited for the right moment. After a sip of IPA, he leaned in, voice low. I need to tell you something. Work's been weird. Lisa, my coworker, she's been on my mind. Nothing's happened, I swear, but I feel guilty even thinking about her." He watched her reaction, his heart pounding. The recorder was in his jacket, running silently. Emily's glass froze halfway to her mouth. Her eyes flicked to his, searching. "Lisa, your assistant." Her voice was sharp, but there was something else. Relief, maybe? Jake nodded, playing remorseful. "Yeah, it's just a stupid crush. Probably nothing. I just needed to be honest." He held his breath, watching her process it. Would she take the bait? Call his bluff? Or would she open up, thinking they were both confessing? The silence stretched, the bar's chatter fading into the background. Emily set her glass down, her fingers tapping the table. "Jake," she said finally, her voice softer, "I get it. Sometimes things just happen." His pulse quickened. Was this it? He leaned forward, keeping his face neutral. "What do you mean?" he asked. She hesitated, then spoke, her words careful. "Work's been intense. Ryan, he's been leaning on me a lot. Late meetings, just the two of us. It's complicated." Jake's blood ran cold. There was Ryan's name back in play. He kept his tone steady. "Complicated how?" Emily looked away, her fingers tightening around her glass. "It's not what you think. Just a lot of pressure." She was dodging, but her voice wavered. Jake didn't push. He got enough for now. The recorder had it all. He changed the subject, suggesting they head home. Emily agreed, visibly relieved. Back at the condo, Jake excused himself to the bathroom, stopping the recorder. He replayed the clip, her words crisp. "Ryan, late meetings, just the two of us. Not a confession, but close." He saved the file, his mind racing. Emily was slipping, and he was one step closer to the truth. But what came next? Confront her with this? Wait for Dan's next report? Or push harder, set a bigger trap? As he climbed into bed, Emily already asleep, Jake knew one thing. He wasn't stopping until every lie was exposed. Jake's recorder caught Emily's slip about Ryan, but it's not enough, yet. With suspicions burning, he's ready to tighten the trap. One wrong word from her could unravel everything. But a new clue threatens to derail his plan. Can he outsmart her lies before she catches on? Buckle up for a heart-pounding showdown. Jake Thompson woke to the hum of Seattle's morning traffic, his mind already replaying Emily's words from the brewery. "Ryan, late meetings, just the two of us." The audio recorder, hidden in his nightstand, held that half-confession, but it wasn't proof, just a tease. He needed more, something undeniable, to expose her affair with Ryan. Emily was still asleep, her phone face down on her side of the bed, as always. Jake dressed quietly, grabbed his laptop, and headed to a Ballard cafe to strategize. He couldn't keep playing the clueless husband much longer. At the cafe, he sipped a black coffee and opened his email. Dan, the PI, had sent an update late last night. The message was short. "New lead. Call me." Jake dialed immediately, his heart racing. Dan picked up on the second ring. "Found something," he said, voice low. "Ryan's been booking a co-working space downtown, not through the company. Private room. No cameras, paid in cash. Emily's car was spotted nearby twice this week. Same time she claims late meetings. No photos yet, but I'm digging." Jake's grip tightened on the phone. A private room? That was no work meeting. Dan's words confirmed what Jake feared. Emily and Ryan were hiding their affair in plain sight, using the office and off-site spaces as cover. Keep following her, Jake said. I need hard evidence. Dan grunted in agreement. It's tricky, but I'll try to get closer. Might take a few days. Jake hung up, his mind spinning. The co-working space was a bold move, too bold. Emily was slipping, but so was his patience. He couldn't wait for Dan forever. Back home, Jake kept up the charade. He cooked breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, and chatted about trivial things, weekend plans and new Netflix show. Emily smiled, but her responses were short, her eyes darting to her phone every few minutes. A notification pinged, and she swiped it away fast, muttering about work emails. Jake's jaw clenched, but he played along, asking about her day. Big presentation tonight, she said. Might run late again. He nodded, hiding his suspicion. Perfect, he thought. Another chance to test her. That afternoon, Jake called in sick to work, claiming a migraine. He needed time to refine his plan. The recorder had worked once. It could work again. His fake confession about Lisa had cracked Emily's defenses, but he had to push harder without raising her guard. He decided to double down, make her think he was unraveling, vulnerable. If she believed he was guilty too, she might spill everything. He rehearsed his lines, keeping them natural. I'm struggling him. Lisa's getting in my head. The recorder would catch whatever came next. At 6 p.m., Emily texted, stuck at work, home by 9. Jake checked the clock. Plenty of time. He drove to the electronics store again, upgrading his recorder to a model with better range, just in case. Back home, he hid it in his jacket pocket, testing it with a quick whisper. The audio was crystal clear. He paced the living room, waiting for her. At 9:45, the front door opened. Emily walked in, her shoulders tense, her phone clutched tightly. Rough day? Jake asked, keeping his tone light. She nodded, kicking off her shoes. Yeah, pitch went long. Her voice was flat, rehearsed. Jake poured her a glass of wine and sat her down on the couch. We need to talk, he said, his voice heavy. I wasn't totally honest at the brewery. This thing with Lisa, it's messing me up. I haven't done anything, but I feel like I'm losing control. I hate keeping this from you. He watched her closely, the recorder running silently. Emily's eyes widened, but not with anger. Relief again. She set her wine down, her hands fidgeting. Jake, I get it. Work's been crazy for me too. Ryan's been intense. We've been working closely, and it's gotten personal. Jake's heart pounded, but he kept his face soft, encouraging. Personal how? He asked, leaning in. Emily hesitated, then spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. It started with texts, just work stuff, then late nights, private meetings. It's more now. I didn't mean for it to happen. There it was, the confession Jake had been chasing. His blood ran hot, but he stayed calm, nodding like he understood. How long, he asked gently. She swallowed hard. A few months. Only at work or nearby. We're careful. Jake's mind flashed to Dan's report, the co-working space. It fit perfectly. He kept his voice steady. Do you love him? Emily shook her head quickly. No, it's not like that. It's just, I don't know, an escape. She looked at him, eyes pleading. I'm sorry, Jake. I wanted to tell you. Jake exhaled, feigning shock. I had no idea it was this serious, he said, buying time. The recorder had every word, dates, locations, intent. It was enough to bury her and Ryan. But he needed to stay sharp. One slip, and she'd suspect his trap. Let's not decide anything tonight, he said, standing. I need to think. Emily nodded, tears welling, thinking they were reconnecting. Jake turned away, hiding the cold resolve in his chest. Upstairs, he locked the bathroom door and played back the recording. Emily's voice was clear. It started with texts, late nights, private meetings, a few months. He saved the file, encrypted it, and emailed a backup to himself. His next move was clear: get the evidence to the right people. Ryan's fiancée, Claire, deserved to know. So did Emily's company. But he'd wait for Dan's final report. Photos or logs from the co-working space could seal the deal. For now, he'd keep the act going, let Emily think she was safe. The next morning, Dan called with a bombshell. Got a partial play from a car at the co-working space. Matches Ryan's Audi. No shot of them together yet, but I'm staking out tonight. Jake's pulse surged. The net was tightening, but so was the risk. If Emily sensed he was onto her, she could cover her tracks. He had to move fast, stay one step ahead. As he drove to work, the Seattle skyline loomed gray and heavy, mirroring the storm building inside him. Tonight, he'd push Emily again, Maybe drop another hint about Lisa. Every word she said was another nail in her coffin. Jake holds Emily's recorded confession, a ticking bomb ready to expose her affair with Ryan. But as he plans his final move, a chilling twist from the PI threatens to unravel everything. With time running out, can Jake deliver justice before Emily slips away? Brace for a fallout that shakes them all. Jake Thompson sat in his car outside a West Seattle gym, the audio recorder burning a hole in his pocket. Emily's voice, it started with texts a few months, only at work or nearby, played on loop in his head. The confession was damning, but Jake needed Dan's final report to make it airtight. He'd spent the morning dodging Emily's cautious attempts at conversation, her eyes searching his for forgiveness after last night's heart-to-heart. She thought they were rebuilding trust. Jake knew better. He was building a case. His phone buzzed at 11:03 a.m. Dan's name flashed on the screen. Jake answered, his pulse quickening. "Got something big," Dan said, his voice taut. "Staked out the co-working space last night. Caught Ryan's Audi pulling in at 7:15 p.m., Emily's SUV right behind. They entered together, stayed 2 hours. No photos inside. The place is locked down, but I got their cars on video, time-stamped." Jake's grip tightened. "Send it over." Done, Bowsette. One more thing. Ryan's fiancée, Claire, was tailing him too. She saw them. Looked pissed. "Watch your back." Jake's stomach dropped. Claire was on Ryan? That complicated things. If she confronted him now, Emily might get spooked and cover her tracks. Jake needed to act fast. He thanked Dan and opened a video file Dan sent. A grainy clip of Emily's SUV parking beside Ryan's Audi. The two figures disappearing into the building. It wasn't a smoking gun, but paired with the recording, it was enough. Jake forwarded the video to his encrypted email, his plan crystallizing. Expose the affair to Claire and Emily's company. Let the consequences hit hard. Back home, Jake kept up the pretense. Emily was at work, her big project, keeping her late again, per her morning text. He used the quiet to prepare. He drafted 2 emails, one to Claire, Ryan's fiancée, attaching the recording and video with a brief note. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Here's the truth." The second went to Emily's company HR director, marked confidential, evidence of employee misconduct involving Emily Thompson and Ryan Carter. He saved both his drafts, waiting for the right moment to send. At 6 p.m., Jake's phone pinged. "Emily, home by 9, meeting ran over." He snorted, same excuse, different day. He decided to push her one last time, test her nerve. He texted back, "Cool, let's talk tonight." Feeling off about Lisa again. He wanted her rattled, thinking he was still torn over his fake crush. The more unsteady she felt, the less she'd suspect his trap. He slipped the recorder into his jacket, ready for whatever she said next. Emily walked in at 10:05 p.m., later than promised. She dropped her bag, her shoulders tense. "Hey," she said, forcing a smile. Jake stood, offering a glass of water. "Long day?" he asked, his tone neutral. She nodded, avoiding his gaze. "Yeah, Ryan's pushing deadlines." The name drop felt deliberate, like she was testing him. Jake seized the opening. I can't stop thinking about Lisa. I told her I'm married, but she's still there. I feel like a mess. You ever feel that way with Ryan?" Emily froze, her glass halfway to her lips. Her eyes flicked to his, then away. "Jake, I told you it's not love with Ryan. It's just complicated." Her voice cracked, and Jake saw it, guilt, raw and unguarded. He leaned in, recorder running. "Complicated how? You said it's an escape." "Escape from what?" Emily set the glass down, her hands shaking. "From us, I guess. We've been drifting. Ryan was just there." She stopped, realizing she'd said too much. Jake kept his face soft, hiding the triumph in his chest. The recorder caught it all, another nail in her coffin. He stood, exhaling. "I need air," he said, grabbing a jacket. "We'll talk tomorrow." Emily nodded, tears brimming, thinking he was hurt. Jake stepped outside, the Seattle drizzle cooling his face. He stopped the recorder, replaying her words. "Escape from us. Ryan was just there." It was more than enough. He finalized the emails, attaching the new clip alongside the video and first recording. At 10:47 p.m., he hit send on both. No turning back now. The next morning, Jake woke to chaos. His phone showed 3 missed calls from Emily and a voicemail from Claire. He listened to Claire's first. "Jake, it's Claire. I got your email. I'm done with Ryan. Thank you." Her voice was steel, no tears. Emily's voicemail was frantic. "Jake, why aren't you answering? Something's wrong at work. Call me." He ignored it, checking his inbox. HR had replied, "Received. We're investigating. Please refrain from further contact." The gears were turning. By noon, Dan called with an update. Big stir at Emily's firm. Ryan was called into a board meeting, left looking pale. Emily's been pulled into HR. Words out. Something about ethics violations. Jake nodded, unsurprised. The company moved fast to protect its image. He thanked Dan and hung up, his mind shifting to the fallout. Emily would come home soon, desperate for answers. He had to be ready. At 3:15 p.m., Emily burst through the door, her voice high-pitched. "Jake, HR suspended me. They're saying I violated policy with Ryan." "How do they know?" Jake stood calm. "I sent them the truth," he said, holding her gaze. "Your confession, the video of you two at the co-working space. I sent it to Claire, too." Emily's face drained of color. "You recorded me?" she stammered. Jake nodded. "You lied for months. I needed proof." She lunged for her phone, dialing Ryan, but it went to voicemail. She sank onto the couch, shaking. Jake grabbed a duffel bag, packing essentials, laptop, charger, documents. "I'm leaving," he said. "We're done." Emily sobbed, begging him to stay, but he walked out, the door clicking shut behind him. He drove to a hotel in Bellevue, checking in under his name. His phone lit up with Emily's texts, apologies, excuses, pleas, but he silenced them. Claire emailed again, filed for separation. "Ryan's out of job. Thank you." Jake exhaled, a weight lifting. Justice was served, no fist thrown. Jake's exposed Emily's affair, shattering her world and Ryan's. As the dust settles, he's free but haunted. Did justice come at too high a cost? A final encounter threatens to pull him back into the chaos. Will he walk away for good? Or will Emily's last plea change everything? Stay tuned for a moral reckoning that hits hard. Jake Thompson woke in a Bellevue hotel room, the Seattle skyline a distant smudge through the window. His phone was silent. No more frantic texts from Emily. No voicemails begging for forgiveness. Last night, he'd walked out after revealing the recordings and video that exposed her affair with Ryan. HR's swift suspension of both and Claire's decision to dump Ryan confirmed the fallout was in motion. Jake felt no triumph, only a quiet resolve. He'd gotten the truth, but now he had to rebuild. He checked out of the hotel and drove to a coffee shop in Tacoma, craving distance from the city. Over a latte, he opened his laptop to finalize divorce papers. He'd contacted a lawyer yesterday, attaching the recordings and Dan's video as evidence of Emily's infidelity. The lawyer was blunt. "This is airtight. You'll get a clean split, maybe more." Jake didn't care about the money. He wanted closure. He signed the digital forms, his signature sealing the end of 5 years of marriage. His phone buzzed with an email from Dan, the PI. Case closed. Ryan's out, Emily too. Company's keeping it hush, but word's spreading. Attached was a final report. Screenshots of internal memos confirming Ryan and Emily's terminations for ethical misconduct. Jake skimmed it, then deleted the file. He didn't need to relive the details. The truth had done its work. He paid Dan's invoice, adding a bonus for the video that clinched it. By noon, Jake was back in his car, heading to a rental agency. He signed a lease for a small apartment in Olympia, an hour south of Seattle. A fresh start, away from the condo, filled with memories of Emily's lies. As he packed his essentials, laptop, books, running shoes, his phone lit up with a new text from Emily. "Please, Jake, meet me one last time. I need to explain." He stared at it, tempted to ignore her, but something stopped him. One final conversation might give him the closure he needed. Jake agreed to meet at a neutral spot, a quiet park in Puyallup. He arrived early, the recorder in his pocket out of habit, though he doubted he'd need it. Emily showed up at 3 p.m., her steps hesitant. She sat on a bench across from him, hands clasped tightly. "Jake," she started, voice low, "I'm sorry. I know I messed up. Ryan was a mistake, a stupid escape. I thought I could keep it separate, but I was wrong." Her words were earnest, but Jake felt nothing. No anger, no pity. He leaned forward, voice steady. "You chose to lie every day for months. You don't get to call that a mistake." Emily flinched, tears spilling. "I know," she said. "I lost everything. My job, my reputation, you. Ryan won't even answer my calls." Jake nodded, unsurprised. Dan had mentioned Ryan was dodging Emily, focused on salvaging his own life after Claire's legal filings. "What do you want from me?" Jake asked. Emily's voice broke. "A chance to make it right. I'll do anything." Jake shook his head. "There's no going back. You build a life on lies, Em. I built one on truth." He stood, ready to leave. Emily grabbed his arm. "Wait, there's something else. Ryan pressured me, said he'd tank my career if I didn't go along." Jake paused, searching her face for truth. "It didn't matter. You still chose him over us," he said, pulling away. "Goodbye." He walked to his car, the recorder untouched. Emily's plea lingered, but it changed nothing. She'd made her choices, and now she faced the consequences. Jobless, alone, her name whispered in corporate circles as a cautionary tale. Jake drove to Olympia, the road stretching ahead like a clean slate. He stopped at a diner, ordered a burger, and scrolled through a local meetup group for runners. A new life was starting, one step at a time. Days later, an email from Claire arrived. Divorce filed. "Ryan's fighting it, but he's got nothing. Thanks for the truth." Jake replied simply, "Glad you're free." He learned through a mutual friend that Emily had moved to a small apartment in Everett, scraping by on freelance gigs. Her old colleagues avoided her, and job interviews stalled when recruiters Googled her name. Ryan, meanwhile, had left Seattle, his career in tatters after the board's swift ruling. Jake settled into his Olympia apartment, signing up for a coding boot camp he'd always wanted to try. He joined a Sunday running group, their chatter about trails and marathons a welcome distraction. One evening, at a local brewery, a woman from the group, Mia, asked about his move. "Needed a change," he said, keeping it vague. She nodded, sharing her own story of starting over after a bad breakup. Jake smiled, feeling a spark of connection, untainted by suspicion. Weeks later, Jake ran into an old coworker at a Tacoma coffee shop. The guy leaned in, voice low. "Heard about Emily. Man, you play that smart. Ryan's done, and she's paying for it." Jake shrugged. "I just wanted the truth." The coworker smirked. "You got more than that. You showed her she underestimated you." The word stuck with Jake, not as pride, but as a reminder. Trust, once broken, leaves scars that don't fade. That night, Jake sat on his balcony, the Olympia skyline glowing softly. He sipped a beer, his phone silent. No more secrets, no more games. Emily's betrayal had cost her everything, but Jake had gained something, freedom. He didn't need to shout his story or seek revenge beyond the truth. The recordings, the video, the emails, they'd been enough. Justice wasn't loud, it was final. He closed his laptop, ready for tomorrow's run, and let the past fade into the night. End.